dedicated to empowering you with information,
to make positive choices,
and be advocates for your overall well-being.
Welcome to The Health View. Welcome to The Health View. I'm Yvonne Dunitz, and my guest today is Alicia Seaver. Alicia is the Director of Memory Care at Burgess by Epic. She serves as an educator and trainer for both families and staff, as well as an expert resource for all Bridges by Epic communities. Alicia is certified by the National Institute on Aging as a memory impairment specialist. She is also a certified positive approach to care trainer and is certified in both Massachusetts and Florida as a state certified Alzheimer's and related dementia trainer. Today, we will be talking about the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's disease, warning signs to be aware of, and how Alzheimer's affects the person who is diagnosed with it, but the family as well. Welcome, Alicia. I'm so happy that you're here today, and I appreciate all that you do to serve people who are having challenges in this area. So let's start with, what is dementia?
Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here and to help you drive a very important message to people. Dementia is a general term, very broad, for the decline in mental abilities that would interfere with someone's daily living. And Alzheimer's is a type, the most common type, with several others. There's more than 100 dementias on the table in this country at this time. Some reversible, like a thyroid challenge or a vitamin deficiency, and some that aren't reversible, like Alzheimer's.
So tell us about it. There's natural aging. Natural aging. How does that differ from dementia and Alzheimer's?
There is nothing normal about dementia and Alzheimer's. Once upon a time, I think that we referred to people with dementia as folks that had senility, these kinds of things, and I think it made people think and feel that this was connected to what is normal, and there's nothing normal about it.
So let's talk about what are the normal and abnormal symptoms we should be aware of, and warning signs.
Sure. One of the warning signs for folks in memory loss, early memory loss, is memory loss that interferes with someone's daily living. We forget things, but it doesn't necessarily impact our daily living. So that
example.
An example would be losing track of time, or not being able to track your meals and when you ate them, things simple like that.
Okay, so I understand that there are specific warning signs of Alzheimer's disease.
There are.
Let's talk about them.
Okay. Another is challenges in planning and or solving problems. For example, could be paying the bills for a memory impaired person, or following a recipe, have difficulty following sequential order and steps. Another challenge would be with familiar tasks at home or at work, remembering the rules to a game. And when you don't remember them, making up your own set and swearing to everyone in your circle that those were the rules from the beginning. A great number of folks, a symptom I hear about a lot, is confusion with time and place. Memory impaired people can easily lose track of time, and they can oftentimes lose track of place, not knowing where they are for a moment or not knowing how they got there. So normal for us to come out of Target and not be able to locate our car. Normal. Not normal to come out of Target and wonder how you got there in the first place.
That's a good distinction.
Challenges understanding visual images and spatial orientation is another warning sign for people.
Give an example, if you would, please.
Sure. Being able to navigate a space, which would have at one time been easy or simple, like we navigate spaces every day.
Like in a bedroom.
Absolutely. Having visual challenges and bumping into things that you wouldn't have ordinarily or before. Seeing something as it isn't. You know, if you see a shiny floor, you could interpret that as ice or water, you know, with a memory impairment. those kinds of things. Reaching for things and not being able to quite grab them. Spatial disorientation is common. We hear about it a lot.
Wow. What other symptoms?
Let me think. Challenges with words in speaking and or writing. This happens a lot for folks. When we hear from folks, we hear the frustration of the caregiver. And the caregiver noticing the change in speaking with their memory-impaired loved one and how much longer it takes them to process and how difficult it can be and how challenging it can be for the memory-impaired person to find the right word at the right time. Or in other cases, to use a word similar. If I were trying to describe my watch to you, I could call it a hand clock as opposed to the watch. I'm close, but I'm not spot on. I see those challenges a lot, and I'm sensitive to that because I think that it's hard for people. It's hard for memory-impaired people, and we want them to keep talking.
Absolutely.
So the other thing I enjoy to do with memory-impaired people is to give them the time because they're people, and they traditionally have something to say. And it's important to me as a means to keep them communicating with us. I'm not quick to correct people. I let them work at it a little bit before I give them the solve if it's a word retrieval issue that they're having.
Now, in natural aging related to words or whatever, people will say, I had a senior moment. They forget someone's name, or they might forget a thought that they might have, but it comes back to them.
That's normal aging. That is supposed to happen to us. I will let everyone watching off the hook.
Right.
We are supposed to meet people and forget their names or different things. It's 2016, and most people live in 2016, a very fast-paced life. And when you live like that, things are bound to fall off your wagon. So the difference with us is that we have retrieval. Right. It may not be timely, and oftentimes it isn't. For me, it's the middle of the night when things are quiet. I will get that name that I was thinking of earlier that afternoon. Okay. So I have the ability to retrieve.
And it doesn't have to be right away. You still have the ability to retrieve. So the difference is when someone has dementia or Alzheimer's,
right, they lose that ability.
They lose that ability so that they can't find it.
Right.
They can't grasp it.
How frustrating is that?
Must be very scary.
It's very scary, and I think that it's very challenging to live with.
Yes. Because you're aware initially, right?
I know a great number of memory-impaired people that are diagnosed early enough that they can articulate how that feels.
And what would they say?
That it's frustrating, or that they feel less than in conversation. It's hard for them.
I can imagine.
Sure.
Very scary.
It is.
What other things?
I think that misplacing things and not having the ability to retrace your steps like the rest of us do. We are able to retrace our steps, and that triggers good positive memory. And then we're able to find whatever it was we misplaced. And memory-impaired people do not have that ability, so it's harder for them. And I think that oftentimes, as opposed to saying or articulating, I'm not able to find what's missing, memory-impaired people are inclined to accuse somebody else of moving it or taking it. It's easier to do that. And I think that their frustration around it can fire off the accusation.
Yes. Which must be another frustration for all those around in community with the person.
Sure.
Yeah. Other.
Decreased and/or poor judgment.
Let's talk about that. How might we see that coming out?
I think that for a great number of people, you can see when they're living at home, they could have challenges with paying their bills. And not so strange for a memory-impaired person to pick up a bill and pay it, put it back down on the kitchen table, see it the following day, and pay it again. Telemarketers come to mind. And I think that memory-impaired people, oftentimes when this is their challenge, they can give more than they can afford to a cause that they're passionate about or that they care about. And I think that they can be easily taken advantage of. So I'm very cautious. We're cautious as a company in looking out for people and educating them.
Absolutely.
Withdrawing from work and social activities, I find more common. I find more common in the last decade or so, and I wonder if it isn't because we're now serving a younger person, and there is such a thing as early onset Alzheimer's. So these folks are younger than the age of 65.
How young might someone actually?
I've met people in their 40s and 50s.
Really?
We have people in some of our communities in their 50s and 60s. And I think for them, being younger and being able to articulate that they do have a memory impairment, they can feel the symptoms. And I think they're more inclined to withdraw. The less you see me, the less you'll notice. The less I talk, the less you'll hear. And that's hard for me because it is so important for those people to understand there is still life.
Absolutely.
And we want to encourage people to live it. And we don't want people to hide from this, you know?
And that's the importance of being able to educate people as to what they can do and how they can support anyone who is diagnosed. And also, where do you go? Where do you go when you notice these symptoms? Who do you communicate with?
I think it's important for people to start with a primary care physician.
Exactly.
With their family or with a family member. I think it's easier to, I know that it's easier to take this walk with someone or a great number of people if that's what you can do. I think that you want to meet with someone that specializes in dementia. And good news for us, there are a great number of people out there that do wonderful things for people with dementia. And I think that early detection is the answer so that you can maximize whatever it is you can maximize as far as what's out there in offerings for people.
And so there are different stages
There
of
are.
Alzheimer's. And how might they differ?
You know, there are 7 stages now recognized by the Alzheimer's Association, which is a wonderful thing. 25 years ago, we categorized 3 stages,
Right.
and it was very difficult because many people didn't fit. Now with 7, starting with very, very early stage forgetting, if you're forgetting at all, to end of life, all the way through to end of life. Which then brings me to the next place and what this diagnosis means,
Yes.
what it means to the person that possesses it
Yes.
and their family.
Yes.
And we are in the business of memory care. And when we meet a memory impaired person, we understand that it is as much our responsibility to embrace that family. The entire family, Alzheimer's is often referred to as a family disease because so many are affected. I don't have a family member with Alzheimer's. I can't imagine what it would be like to watch a family member slowly decline and deteriorate before my eyes. I also can't imagine the length of time that the grieving process goes on for people while their loved ones are still alive.
Yes, because it's a process of literally
Through the
seeing
stages,
slowly
they're
through the
losing
stages.
different pieces of their loved one.
Yes,
That's tragic.
absolutely.
So what we do is we embrace the memory impaired person and we empower them with as much information as they can take or want. And then, as important as we embrace the families, and that could mean the spouse, the adult children, the grandchildren, sometimes even the great-grandchildren. And we support them with education and support.
In what ways?
We host educational presentations ongoing in every one of our communities, in every market we work in. And we, you know, it's a blessing in 2016 that we fill rooms with people that want to learn about Alzheimer's and other related dementias.
What is the most important things they want to learn right away?
What is the most important thing they want to learn
Yes,
right away?
that you find that they're literally seeking.
I think that caregivers that are at home taking care of a loved one want quick solves to what they feel like are big challenges. You know, how do we keep folks safe? You know, when do we know when it's time? How long should we keep a memory impaired person at home?
Right.
When should we take their license if that's the nature of our family?
And what supports can we bring into the home?
Oh, absolutely.
And then how about the supports for the family members too?
Yeah, we do a great number of things for family members. We host support groups for them, and there is nothing like it. For me, that is a feed for me, meaning when I sit at a table with people that have a memory impaired person at home, and I'm listening, and I am the facilitator, but I'm doing very little. and they're supporting each other genuinely with their experience, strength, and hope, there's nothing better. We host support groups specific for spouses because their concerns are very different than the concerns of the adult children.
How are they different?
I think what I know about the generation of spouses that we serve, they take their wedding vows very seriously, and they made a commitment for better, for worse, in sickness and in health.
Yes.
And we know caregivers are out there dying trying to take care of their memory-impaired loved ones. So the more resources and support we can give them, the better. What I have learned in 25 years of serving these people is we don't give enough concern and care to the family. We don't. And
So what can we do to make that better for them?
we can take away their reasons for not attending support groups. Oftentimes we hear from people, I can't come to your support group, I have to take care of my husband. So we invite memory-impaired people to our communities. We say, you know what, don't let that be the reason you can't attend a support group. Bring your memory-impaired loved one. They can have dinner with the residents. You can sit at the support group, have dinner yourself amongst your friends, people that are walking the same walk,
Right.
and get what you need. So that at the end of that 90 minutes, you're leaving with your memory-impaired loved one.
Yeah.
You feel better. You've connected with people that are walking your walk, and everyone's eaten dinner. One less thing to think about when you leave.
You're getting nurtured and nourished. and
Absolutely.
Getting companionship and understanding as well as education and further awareness.
Most certainly. The other thing that we offer are educational presentations in every community for the families. Whether or not they have a loved one in our community, doesn't matter. They're open to the public. And we offer a variety. We have 75 topics that we offer to folks in hopes that we're supporting them and helping them at home.
Is this a free service
It
for
is.
them?
It is.
So through your years of experience and providing supports, what would you say are the most important things that you would like to tell the person who is exhibiting symptoms? Let's start with the individual. What
Sure.
would you like them to know?
That there is life after diagnosis, but we need to know.
We need to know the symptoms
We
in
need
order to help.
Absolutely. The more we know, the better job we can do supporting people, and that it's okay. I find myself telling people more and more, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay when we have a diagnosis of diabetes.
Right.
It's okay when we have a diagnosis of high blood pressure. It's okay when we're diagnosed with Alzheimer's. There's life after Alzheimer's.
As long as we have the right support around us.
Absolutely.
And so that right support for family members, what would you say to them?
I would say that educating themselves, empowering themselves is the answer. The more education, the better. Support groups, we are blessed in Massachusetts and New Hampshire with the Alzheimer's Association and the offering of resources/support groups. They're everywhere all the time. If you can't make it in the evening, you'll find one local in the afternoon. Some you can bring your memory-impaired loved ones. There's opportunity. We just need to find it.
And what are the types of things that the support groups do?
I think that it depends on the person attending. For the memory-impaired person, you're not alone. And that's a huge, huge hurdle for I think memory-impaired people can feel very isolated. They can feel very lonely. And when you're around a table as an early stage forgetter and you're talking about your frustrations and trying to operate your cordless phone and someone across the table has lived that, you're not alone anymore.
Right.
And you don't feel it. For families, a sense of community, a sense that you're still a part of a community, more importantly, a community that cares about you as a whole. We embrace families as a whole. And when there's an opportunity to educate even young children, we do that because it helps.
It helps because one of the things their loved ones all need is that continued love to be shared with one another. And just because that someone is diagnosed with something, to not allow the fear to get in the way, to take away from your relationship, and you're demonstrating your caring and your love for one another.
It is so important. Yes. A moment of joy for a memory-impaired person, it's rich.
It is.
And they can forget a name, and they can forget a face, but they do not forget who they love and who loves them.
That's phenomenal. And as far as what they do they remember more of the past than the present?
They do. We train our teams to focus on the past because we don't want to frustrate people by trying to pull memory that we know is not there. Alzheimer's traditionally will affect the short-term memory, and the long-term memory stays intact a very long time. And the memory-impaired person feels much more comfortable with conversation around where their memory is solid.
So ways that family members and friends can support another person related to
Absolutely.
the past would be what?
Reminiscing.
Reminiscing. So
Tell-
albums are a great way too.
Albums are a wonderful
Memory
way.
books and things like that. And
Absolutely.
bringing people in and experiences so that they
Sure.
can go back into that and really enjoy it and be there
And feel
and be part of conversation.
they feel so connected when those opportunities present themselves. If everyone could see the value, that would be the message I would want to drive.
So the message would be,
To make the most of a moment for a memory-impaired person, whatever it takes.
whatever it
But
takes.
go back and reminisce. There's a lot to learn about these folks.
Yes, because they're rich. Each of us are who we are today because of our history, all of it,
That is the truth.
every bit of it. And so it's celebrating that history.
Yes, it is.
And I think that that's the part that is most important related to this particular challenge in one's life when one has this diagnosis.
Absolutely.
Because if the people around us can remember to celebrate who we are
That's right.
and to help us remember who we are by connecting with our past
That's it.
and connecting with how meaningful we all are to each other and how important we are to each other, and be able to grasp those moments that they're not lost. They're still there.
That is it.
So the present component,
Doesn't make us who we are.
exactly. So there's the difference. And that's the difference of helping people and family members to know that
Absolutely.
the present, the disease is not who we are. So it's helping to remind the person of who they are
Sure.
and to acknowledge them. So of the work, what is the most important thing for you in fulfilling this passion that you have in working with people that have the challenges of this diagnosis? What is it that you feel that you and how you make a difference and why you make that difference?
What's most important for me is my time spent with those people, the people we speak of. And I'm gifted. I'm gifted in my career. And I have served them a very long time. And I have always managed to be aligned with a company that allows me that opportunity. I work for Bridges by Epic, and they allow me an opportunity to touch memory-impaired people every day. And that is my best time spent.
So you feel like you're truly making a difference
I
in
am
the world.
truly making a difference.
It's so important. So if we were to summarize this conversation that we're having today, let's go to the symptoms, helping people to be aware. What are the symptoms that they should be aware of so that they know to go to a doctor to gain some help and insight?
The warning signs that we went over
Yes.
are what folks should be looking for.
And
So
they
that
are.
short-term forgetting, recent events, names, repeating questions over and over again, decreased judgment, not understanding and not being able to follow a recipe, these kinds of things, having challenges with their bills, withdrawing from social in these kinds of settings, changes in mood or personality that you didn't see otherwise
In
or
what way?
before. I think that a great number of I know that a great number of memory-impaired people can feel this. And when you feel something and it's unsettling,
Yep.
you can act on it. So to see frustration on the rise that you didn't see before, or to see people turning away from something that they once enjoyed, like a hobby, those kinds of things.
And then there's spatial things you were saying.
Absolutely. If you notice that somebody's having a difficult time navigating a familiar area, home, part of the home, absolutely. Not recognizing rooms, different rooms that they always knew, waking up and not understanding where you are, how you got there.
Oh, it must be terrifying.
Absolutely scary.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of reassurance in what we do.
So the importance is to recognize that if these symptoms are presenting itself,
Yep.
what what you need to do is to go to your medical provider
Absolutely.
and share with them
Your concerns.
your concerns. And then the medical provider will help you,
Absolutely.
as well as your family,
Sure.
to get the supports that you need. So the importance is to diagnose this early.
Sure.
And the difference that makes is what?
You don't want to lose any opportunities. There's a great deal of help out there from the Alzheimer's Association on. And when we don't know, we can't help you.
Right.
When we know, there are a great number of resources out there and people that understand what these folks are living.
And so in order to help each other stay connected in community, one of the best things that we can do is be aware of our own bodies and our symptoms and not be afraid to reach out and get some help.
Absolutely.
Because with that help, we can feel supported, can go through the phases of the disease, understand each stage, and be able to preempt some of the things that are needed for supports.
Most certainly.
And in the end, what everyone wants is to be loved and respected and honored and cherished and cared for who they are. And with this particular disease, that speaks itself better than anything else.
That is so true.
Remember who the person is, who they were, and reminisce related to the past.
Absolutely.
You know, it is a wonderful service that you do in making a difference because you're touching people one heart at a time and helping them to get through some very difficult waters. And it's not just, which is so important, the person that is aware of the changes that are going on in their body, which is very scary,
That's right.
and the differences that they're seeing, but it's also each of their family members.
Everyone is watching.
Everyone's watching and witnessing and sometimes feeling very, very helpless. And we don't want anyone to feel helpless or hopeless.
No, we don't.
So what this is all about is educating ourselves, making ourselves aware so that we know that there is help around the bend.
Absolutely.
If you want any other information or would like to learn more about it, please email info@ycdholistichealing.com. Until next time, thank you and have a very good day. And thank you.